Welcome to Construction Champions Podcast, where we are burning the house down and rebuilding it twice a week. I'm your host, Rod Nussbaum, and I am here to help you become the champion that you're meant to be. Along with our amazing guests along the way, we will provide you with the resources, the latest and greatest. You will sit down with disruptors in the construction industry. And my goal from day one has always been to change the mindset around the construction industry. No more where we let the 3% of bad apes dictate the entire reputation of. All right, Construction Champions, welcome back to another episode of Construction Champions Podcast. Do us a solid. I know it's super hard, but just hit one of the buttons. Like, I don't know where you're listening, so if it's like a like, a subscribe, a follow, leave me a comment that says F off. I don't know. Like, if you do something, it will help us reach more people, and that's how we get to our mission of changing the mindset around the construction industry, is by reaching more people. And we know you don't show up for me, you show up for our amazing guests. Today is no different. We have an amazing guest. Jack, it's fantastic to have you here with us today.
Hey, thanks, Ron. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show.
Awesome, man. Well, before we dive into it, why don't you introduce yourself to all the construction champions out there?
All right. So my name's Jack Nix. I've been in the construction industry now since 1985. Entered the trades straight out of high school. Did not know I was going to end up being construction for the rest of my life. But, that's the way it goes. Kind of got tricked into this. My dad owned a construction company. He was an ironworker. And we were at my high school graduation party. And my best friend at the time was talking to my dad over there while he's grilling hot dogs for this party, right? And I walk over and he says, "Hey, we're going to work for your dad on Monday." And I go, "We are?" He goes, "Yeah." And I look at my dad. He goes, "Yeah, I got a job for you guys." I was like, "All right, cool." So I get the information. Monday comes around. I show up to work. My buddy never showed up. And that's how I got started off as a rod buster. I went to get out of my car, had my tools and everything. The foreman goes, "You can just grab your gloves and you put those tools back in your car. You're not going to need those for a week or two." And then they began to drag me around the job carrying steel and stuff like that. So that was my introduction to construction. And I guess I'm a hard head because that stuck, and I've been in the trades, been an ironworker my entire career. Done everything from starting rebar, did structural steel, metal decking. I've always specialized in bridge construction. That's what we do. That's what we specialize in. And I think my career, I've only built 2 or 3 buildings ever. One was a parking garage, which is a vertical bridge, basically. And then I built a metal building out at the airport one time. So anyway, it's been an interesting thing, but, yeah, that's how I kind of got started. I worked my way from ironworker to ironworker foreman. Started running work. After, 10, 12 years in the field, I got an opportunity to move into more of a superintendent role. Did that for a little bit, then moved into the office. And then I've been pretty much running construction since then. My dad moved out of the office and I moved in and we kind of swapped spots. He wanted to be more in the field. I wanted to do more of the admin stuff side. So I taught myself business and I got a high school education, and here I am 40 years later. My wife and I own Shelby Erectors. We have a very successful rebar and metal deck installation company. It works throughout the Southeastern United States. So yeah, a real, that's my story. It's kind of, one of those straight out of high school into the trades. And now in my career, that's what I preach. I try to talk to people and tell them, "Hey man, if you don't know that college, or you don't think college is for you, there's great opportunities in construction." And we need to, I try to use myself as an example to young people, say, this is where you could get. It's all through hard work, tenacity, and dedication. You've got those characteristics, you can be very successful.
Absolutely, man. I couldn't agree more. And you telling that story got me, probably all the listeners as well, thinking back to our first day on the job site. And, I was just a guy that had just gotten out of the Marine Corps, ended up on a job site, and I had a foreman that was destined to break me because he thought, you're just a Marine. Like most people leave after the first day, and I'm going to make you just like the rest. And stuck me back behind a AC heat unit for 12 hours with a jackhammer breaking up concrete. And the only break I got from doing that was running the concrete buckets up the stairs to get it out of the house. And I showed up on the second day and he was in complete shock. He was like, I can't even believe you're here. So,
Yeah, you came back for more.
yeah. And I was like, you're not going to break me, dude. Like, you just throw whatever you want at me. All these other guys will quit. I'm not going to quit. But I think that's rooted in the construction industry. It's one of the things why we get so attached to it and we just stick around is because we built this love and this loyalty to it out of pretty much hardship and suffering along the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and that's not just words. That's real. I mean, I've bled on jobs. I definitely sweat on jobs, and it's listen, it's hard work, especially being a rod buster and doing rods and stuff like that, and any steel work. I mean, all the trades are hard, but that in particular is a very hard, physically intense job. When you put that much effort into something and you survive it and you do what you just said, you survive it, you go there every day. It's a lot of pride that you create in yourself and what you can accomplish. And then you look back and you say, man, I built that. I mean, I would drive through Florida. Yep, we built that ridge. Yep, we built that ridge. Oh, that's one I had my tools on, and I'm still, and I'll be doing that till the day I die because I'm very proud of everything that we built and we're able to do, and I know how much effort goes into that. So and I don't know that you get that with every job, but I know as an ironworker, as a construction tradesperson, there's a sense of accomplishment, teamwork, and what you've been able to do. That's not the same at all professions, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. So I'm excited to ask the $1 million question to you. You've been around for 40 years. This conversation is going to be amazing, but what makes a construction champion?
Yeah. So at this point in my career, what I'm trying to do is pass along my knowledge through my own company. And then I'm also the president of the Steel Erectors Association of America, which is a national trade organization for ironworkers, for steel installers all across the country. And so how what I do now and how I describe the way I champion construction is by being out there, being an advocate, talking about just the things we're talking about, going out and introducing and telling my story and sharing opportunities with young people and people at any point. There's going to be there's this change going on that's happening right now, and I kind of say this because AI. AI is not going to replace your construction workers, okay? AI is going to replace a lot of white collar workers that thought, that their future career was in technology, right? Well, you watch what's going on. So those people are going to have to go somewhere and figure out a different skill set. Well, construction, yes, we're using robotics and we're doing a lot of things before we're thinking to improve our craft and our trade and make it as safe as possible, but we're not going to replace those hands-on, boots on the ground people. And so I think, and we talked about this yesterday. I think you're going to see a resurgence in construction. I think you're going to get that build America attitude out of some people and saying, "Hey, let's go out and do this." There's no shame in being a construction worker. There's pride. So how I champion that is by talking about that, and letting people know, "Hey, don't be ashamed of what you do. Look at me, Al. I'm a guy that's got a high school education, and I run a multi-million-dollar company and have been doing that for a long time. And I don't have a college degree. I've never even stepped room in a college classroom. So, proud of that. So that's how I champion. That's what I think championing construction is for these days. For me, anyways, that's my role, to try to really encourage people to get back into the trades.
Awesome. I love that. And that got me thinking. You've been around the industry for 40 years. But in the rooms you're talking about being in, the associations, the people that actually help shape, you'd be a young dog in those rooms. How do we get guys excited about not just being in the trades, but wanting to be a leader, like where they actually help on the at their level around their communities or at the state level and be part of these organizations that if we don't change that mindset around that are just going to go away.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, first of all, if you're in construction, you need to be part of some sort of organization. Find a trade organization, a trade group that does what you. It does two things, right? It does several things. One, you can't beat the networking opportunities. Two, you're going to put yourself in the room with people that are like-minded. They're like you. They're thinking about you. They're doing what you're trying to do. They either are got it done it, or they're in the process of doing what you do. And what you realize is all of us, I don't care, 40 years experience, 10 years experience, 5 years experience, have the same challenges. Okay. Some are at a different level, different scale, different point in their career. But by joining an organization like that, you really get to surround yourself with people. And the trade organizations need younger people. And I love meeting all the people that are younger than me. I've actually been on this board of directors for 14 years, and I've cherished that time. I've learned so much from the people in those meetings and in those rooms and at these conventions that I go to. And, it's one of those things that would be my first thing is get out involved. And then for like our organization, we have committees. So join a committee, get involved, get your voice heard, hear what other people are talking about, share your problems and what you're facing and your challenges are. I guarantee you can find somebody that's doing the same thing and they'll share with you how they either solve that or how they're working to solve it. Because let me be honest with you, none of us have it all figured out. You're learning something new every day, and every time you go somewhere, you're like, hey, I'm having that same damn problem. How do what are you doing? Oh, that's a good idea. And you take bits and pieces from what each person is doing, and you'd be surprised how beneficial these things are. But the first thing I tell people when they join our organization, I said, we'll take your money. And we'll take your money and you join. But the only way you're gonna get value out of it is to get engaged. Get engaged, participate, get out there and be part of that organization, and you'll be amazed at how much you can get back at.
Yeah, it's something that I want to see continue to grow. And when I go to events, association stuff, and like I said, you'd be one of the young guys in the room a lot of times, and that concerns me because it's like, why doesn't the younger generation see the value in this? You like you said, you have an opportunity to be in a room with people that have been there or are there right now, and everybody thinks it's highly competitive, it's all of this, but when you get in those rooms, there's so much collaboration happening. There's so much help. We are truly an industry that wants to help other people in our industry succeed. And that's one of the ways to get in those rooms is to be part of these associations.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we can all be competitors on bid day. Okay. There's a bid day. This is the work we bid. We all, when we compete. But at the end of the day, we're facing the same challenges. We can learn so much from each other, and we have so much in common with each other. It's hard not to like your competition. So, in my organization, in SEA, the Steel Erector Association, I invited my two largest competitors to join, and they joined. Why? Because I want them to see what I'm doing. I want to expose them to that. But by the same token, we could sit down, have a beer, talk shop, whatever, and philosophies and stuff like that. Talking about pricing. I mean, that's the last thing we talk about. We give each other a hard time. Hey, man, you really dropped your pants on that last bid. What'd you have to go so low for? But at the end of the day, we're talking about people hiring, challenges like that, different technologies. And so, again, we could compete on bid day, and it's healthy to have good competition. But then you get together and you collaborate. You want to make sure everybody's doing the same thing. We want safety for our organization. We want training and so stuff like that. So you're right. construction is one of those places where people really lift each other up, even if you are competitors, right?
Yeah, it's the rising tide takes all. Like it's not like you said, there's competition on bid day, but you like Michael Jordan didn't want to play against a subpar whatever team for the championship. He wanted to be playing against the absolute best team other than them. And that's how it should be. And you go, all of these guys all worked out together in the off season. Like they went and practiced together and learned that guy's doing this. So I'm going to need to do that, or I'm not going to be as good. I'm not going to even be able to compete. But that's where like that competition bred championship level play in teams. And that's what can happen in construction when you're doing, like you said, I invited my two biggest competitors to come be part of the same organization. It's because you want to compete and do business with the absolute best, not just the best in your area, the absolute best, because you're better because of that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the mentality. So yeah, young people out there, if you're if you're running a business or involved with a business, get involved. Go to your the organization that represents what you do and find out how you can join, and then like I said, take part in the activities and really surround yourself with people that are trying to do the same thing you're doing. You'll be amazed how much you can get out of that.
Awesome. I have to dive. So you spend a lot of time moving the industry forward for the next generation. And that's a hot subject right now because we are going to need trade workers, construction. We're going to need people in the industry, no matter what the job category is, in mass numbers here in the next decade. What's some of the things that you're seeing that's working out there right now?
Sorry about that. Hey, yeah. So one of the things that we did, so we're open shop, and so we realized, or I definitely realized over time that we really needed to put together some solid training for our guys, and that they earn. So we have our own Department of Labor approved apprenticeship program. So I did that for a couple of reasons. One, I was watching every generation. I'm a second generation. My son's a third generation Ironworker. Okay. I've been watching each generation get a little bit watered down. And what I mean by that is the knowledge, getting passed along from generation to generation. And so, unless you have some kind of really formalized training program, um, that's what's going to continue to happen. So we jumped in, we went and got involved with NCCR, and used their curriculum and platform. Because I'm not a teacher, I'm not an educator, but use their curriculum, help them improve it to make it really a worthwhile program. And so we offer a 2-year apprenticeship program where in my company today, you can go from $20 an hour, and that's my hiring rate, my starting pay, with zero experience. You come walk to me, you got nothing to do with construction. We'll hire you at 20. In 90 days, you can get $1 raise and you're enrolled in our apprenticeship program. And then you go from $20 to $26 in 2 to 2.5 years, depending on your efforts, what you do. And we have a plan, a work plan for you to get to that. Here's your roadmap, how you get to that. I don't know anybody else that offers a plan that gets you that spot that quickly. Okay. But you got to follow it. And at the end of the day, you get credentials that you could take with you anywhere because they're NCCR. So they're portable credentials, and nobody could take that away from you. Whether you work for me or you go to work for somebody else, they're going to recognize, hey, this guy, he's done the training. And so my goal here is hopefully to create a more powerful, better workforce by giving them that. Now, when we talk about this, training, and it's formalized training, you got to understand that there's an extra effort that needs to go into that, right? So you have to put that effort in to be able to do it. So, I'm real proud of that. The other part of that is that the young people, we've been telling our young people that they need to go to college. They need to further their education. Okay. So for most people, that means college. Okay. But how many people do you know go to college, go 4 years, 3, or whatever they spend? Now they come out of school, they have a degree, and they really, let's say it was just a business degree because they didn't really know what they want, but they're $100,000 or more in debt. Okay, and they really, how many people do you know that went to college and aren't working in their field because there weren't jobs in their field or they didn't really get a specific degree. Um, in our situation, we're providing that apprenticeship program. Well, that is education. And I think if you can really get them to understand, hey, here you're going to get an education too. This is how it goes. Now, a good portion of it is on the job training, but we do have this curriculum and you can't take that away from them. And not only that, you don't pay to go to my school. I pay you to go to my school. I'm paying you as you're completing our program. So in my mind, if you really want to attract young people, you need to appeal to that too. Appeal to their sense of knowledge and wanting to understand. Millennials and Gen Zers, when I go to some of these classes and seminars, they want that. They want to know. They want to understand. They weren't quite like our generation was, where we just went, and we just worked, and we just put our nose down and went. They really want to know why. They want to know the why behind it, right? And so, our training program tries to give them that, so they understand and they get value out of that. So
That's so true. It's not as much about just getting it done and figuring it out to just do that. Like, that's what got us going. Like, that's what excited me about construction, was the ability to just figure it out and get it done and create an outcome. But to your point, like, when you go to these conferences and you go to these events, the most engaged people is that younger generation, because exactly what you're saying is they want to know, why are we doing this? How are we doing this? What's the outcome? Are there variables? Yes, but I want to have as much knowledge as I can going into it. And it's a different way of doing things. And it's not been the norm in the construction industry ever.
yeah, yeah, and we as people in the industry, the leaders of the industry, need to understand that mindset. Need to change our thinking to accommodate the new people that we're trying to attract into the trades, right? They're not going to do it the same way we did it. They're just not. I mean, and that's a reality. And the people that did it our way are getting to that retirement age, and they're going to age out. And you have to have something to offer young people outside of the things that attracted us. So you need to give them knowledge. You need to they need to feel a lot more appreciated than I think we did, and you really have to appeal to that side of things. Look, I'm an old, crusty, hard ass guy. I mean, I am. That's just me. I've never been accused of being touchy feely, but I do understand that I need to appeal to these young people and what's important to them, right? Because if you don't, then you're not going to attract them, and then you're going to be in a really poor spot. So it's one of those things that, again, people of our generation and in our position now, or in leadership roles, need to really take a look at what those employees want out of life. They want different things. They really do. So it's something you have to. And the only way I know that is because I've been involved with these organizations, and I go to these meetings and these seminars, and I listen, and I go, yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think we confuse a lot of what we were talking about earlier when you're talking about education and understanding. We confuse that, or we use the touchy-feely and the emotions as a cop-out to not do what's hard, because the education stuff, setting that up, is hard, and we just say, oh, they want to be coddled and but that's not really what they're even asking for.
Yeah, no, 100%. You gotta get some in-depth insights into what they're really looking for. I mean, look, pay. We always think pay is everything, and yes, that's a part of it, compensation and stuff. And I'm glad to see wages going up in the construction industry. I really am. It needs to be happening, and it's been needed for a long time. So but that's not the only thing they're looking for. This work-life balance stuff, and I'll be the first one to tell you, I did not understand that for the longest time. but it's true. They want PTO. They want to be able to separate. They don't necessarily want to work 60 hours a week, right? Like a lot of guys, they live for their overtime. Mm, not so much some of these other guys. They're like these, 45, 40, they're happy with that, and so you need to kind of get a feel for that. If overtime is part of your model, you need to think about that maybe that's not what these people want. And so and rethinking how you do that, right?
I think that you just hit it the nail on the head right there. Is it's all about us rethinking what we're doing, and we have an outcome that we have to create. But just like a construction project, sometimes you have to rethink how you're going to get to Z from A because the situation changes or something changes around that project. And that's the same thing as working with the different generations, is we have to rethink how we're doing it to still be able to create that outcome that we want to create.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And then, and you got to be innovative too. So, like, you wouldn't think in rebar installation there's a lot of advancements in technology, but we are one of the few contractors in the country that are using robotics in our deck tying and our deck placing on these bridge structures. And so, and that's part of just looking at saying, hey, just because we've been doing it this way for the last 75 years, that doesn't mean that's the way it needs to be. And if there's other options out there, you need to be taking a look at how you make the lifespan of your workers longer, make it safer, make it less physically demanding on their bodies, right? So give me one day. It's in my bag, John. In my bag. Sorry.
Oh, good, man.
Yeah, life going on right around you while you're doing a podcast or an interview. That's the way things go. And that's what happens when you work from home too.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I've loved it. This has been a fantastic conversation today, full of so much value for the construction industry. If anybody wanted to connect with you, follow you, learn more about what you're doing, where's the best places for them to do that?
So you can go to our website, which is shelbyerectors.com. That's the best way to do. We were on an episode of 30 Jobs with Mike Rowe, so you could check us out on that. And it's called I can't even just look up rebar with Mike Rowe, and he did that. It was like 2 years ago. So that was cool. But yeah, anything like that, or trade organization again, SEA, you can reach me through that. So and that's SEAA. So yeah, I'm available. I do a fair amount of these types of interviews and stuff because I really like to talk about what's happening in the industry. So if you have any ideas or you run a podcast, feel free to reach out. If I see value in it, then I would be happy to help you do that.
Awesome. Well, Jack, thank you for taking the time and being on the show today.
I appreciate it, Ron. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. All right, construction champions, another episode in the bag. Where it just an amazing perspective from an industry leader on what we need to do to bridge the gap. And it's not even about bridging the gap. It's about, just like what Jack said, is we need to rethink what exactly we're doing. We're all trying to create outcomes here, but we can get lost in how it's always been done. I talk about it at the end of the show almost every other episode, is we cannot be stuck in how we've done it for the last 75 years because that don't work today. Like, show me an industry. It's not just construction. The problem with construction is we have just continued to fall back on that and accept it and just say, it's fine. We're construction. It's different. We can just do things differently. But it doesn't work that way. Like, business is business and construction work is construction work. They're two different things. So the business aspect of what we do has to evolve. The way we think about this has to evolve. We might pour concrete the same way we did 20 years ago, but that business that pours the concrete cannot be the same as it was 20 years ago for it to live today. And that's how we have to look at this as an industry. We have to be willing to educate. We have to be willing to embrace new technologies. We have to be willing to look outside the box and say, am I the hold up in this? Like, am I literally the one holding up the company because I don't want to move forward? Because as you bring in a younger staff, they're going to have great ideas that you're not going to be able to sit there and be like, well, we've been doing it for 50 years this way. I don't think that idea is valid. Those ideas could be what changes your business forever. One 25-year-old kid that's been on the job site for 2 years might say something that revolutionizes your business if you're willing to listen and you're willing to think outside of the norm of how we've done it in the construction industry. So Construction Champions, make sure you check out all of our fantastic partners. And until next time, be the champion you were meant to be.